There we go.
Works. The magic of technology.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Thoughtful Salt and this guy.
Yep. Hi.
Yes. And it's after New Year's, if you're watching this, and it's been released after New Year's. So Happy New Year's, everybody.
Yay.
Oh man, 2014 was a chaotic year.
Yeah, good thing it's over.
Yeah, 2015 looks to have a lot of great games released in it.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of bad things about the quality of the games released in 2014.
In 2014? You think? I don't know. I feel like a lot of them got a lot of praise.
Yeah, but
Here and
apparently
there,
this is a bad year for video games.
I can see it. There's a lot going on with sort of like the emergence of, you know, indie games, green light games, you know.
Lots of issues.
What are the ones you pay for it and then they finish the game?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Unity, you know. Ass Creed.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a year of controversy.
But we are here today playing through 2-Dash.com's Game of the Year, Bayonetta 2.
Yep. It's a game.
Of the year.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it was a really bad year if this was the...
Oh, come on. It's not that bad. Jeez.
I don't know. It's not bad, but is it really...
Yeah. I would give this game, personally, would give it like a 7 or a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably where I sit.
But the other staff members on the site voted for this because they felt that the gameplay was so fun. And I agree. The gameplay in this game is incredibly fast-paced. Right. It's glorious to behold sometimes. That it simply outweighed the other issues that people have with the rest of the game.
Right.
So this is our Game of the Year.
Cool.
I would have chosen Dark Souls 2 or Wolfenstein: The New Order or Transistor.
Right. Yeah. I would definitely say those personally.
Yeah.
You know,
but that's just me.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of opinions floating around this year.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of disappointments last year, of course. I'm saying this in the past tense for 2014. Watch Dogs, we had Titanfall, we had
Assassin's Creed Unity. Yeah, I was so disappointed with that. I was looking forward to that.
Look at this cutscene. Isn't it amazing? Glorious 720p. So, I got a question. I got a question for everyone, and this is an audience question. You can weigh in the comments section if you want. Is sexy sexist? The big question of 2014, brought up by a lot of political issues, which we shall not dive into in this video, except for how it relates to the question, obviously.
Right.
So we're going to make this happy.
As it pertains to this game.
Yes. Is sexy sexist, Brendan? Weigh in.
Nope.
Why?
That's my opinion. A lot of these... okay, so there is some merit to a lot of design that focuses way too much on sexuality, and to the point, you know, where it's lopsided and it actually detracts from the overall game's design. But a game like this is, well, it is what it is. You can clearly see what we're dealing with.
Yes.
If Bayonetta was like not designed the way she was in this game, it would just be like, you know, I feel like it would be absurd. Like, look at this shit.
Yeah, look at that.
That is
that. Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. Right there.
That is the essence of this game, though. If she was dressed regularly in like plain Jane armor, it
wouldn't feel as fun, would it?
No. Not at all. Not at all. And you know what? And you would have to then detract all the goofiness from everything else, including this whole environment, all of the enemies, you know, that squirrel that she almost stepped on, you know, the dude who's flying the airplane. He all of them fit, you know, around this sort of theme of absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, you do have things where it's just like, you know, pick a male outfit and it looks like a regular practical piece of armor, and then suddenly you switch, you know, to the female armor, and suddenly it looks like lace. You know, that's when it becomes like that's when it kind of becomes not just, you know, I don't know what if you want to call it. I wouldn't go as far as to call it misogynistic, but it's not only that, but it also detracts from the design. right?
Yeah, it
it's
causes you to focus on areas.
Yeah, it just makes your game look silly.
Yeah.
But then I would also argue that there's another angle entirely to approach this from, and this is the angle of maybe, I guess, how would you word it, not being a guy. A lot of these arguments come from what I don't want to say just white knights, but a lot of it comes from this bias of feeling like you have to defend the minority, or I guess find some balance.
Find something to complain about.
Yeah. Well, no, not only that. Like I said, some arguments are warranted.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes complaining about something like this, it's good to bring it to light, so designers and people who make these games can hopefully see that this isn't all we want to look at all the time. But let's get into the idea of a power fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So male power fantasy is you have your big armored hulk of a dude, or maybe, I don't know, like some super stealthy elf guy, typical fantasy tropes, or Gears of War tropes, or shit like that.
Whoa.
But these are big, beefy things. But then to flip that around and say that something like this is not a power fantasy for a woman.
Yeah.
I don't understand that angle, because what is their power fantasy? Is their power fantasy to have a big, beefy woman? It's like, no. There is a distinct difference between men and women. It's there. It's biological, it's chemical, it's physical, it's emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cultural. And a lot of women, their power fantasy isn't just brute forcing their way. That's not the way they solve problems in real life anyways. They're more, I know we're playing this game that doesn't really help my argument, but they're more about a lot of female power fantasies do revolve around like cunning and sexuality and
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it may sound horrible for people to say that, but at the same time, that's how it's worked for thousands of years,
Yeah.
at the very least.
And some things like this, I think it is just as healthy to have a mix of something like this in the game industry as it is to also, equality,
Mm-hmm.
right? I kind of talked myself into a
corner?
Yeah, I didn't start my sentence properly. Basically, it would be less healthy to get rid of the stuff like this. You have to have stuff like this so it can exist for those people whose power fantasy is that, be them male or female, I guess. But you have to also make sure that in your super realistic fantasy game, your women, your ladies, aren't wearing like
It's a tone
strap-on
problem. It's a tone problem.
Yeah.
Let me elaborate on that though, because I come from a music background, so all of my theories on art are based on kind of like the flow of something. Yeah. So in a situation like that, where you have like a female skimpy armor next to a male practical armor,
yeah.
It interrupts the flow of the game. It's a negative. It's an automatic negative. I mean, it looks ridiculous on the face of things, but a game like this, Bayonetta fits into the flow of this game so perfectly that if it was any other way, I don't know if I could take it seriously as a good game, or I shouldn't say that, as a kind of like a goofy, flat out, all out game.
Yeah.
Like if there was a fat chick on this, it would probably almost do that. Like, can you imagine that Bayonetta is a fat chick?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Maybe that's also some of the arguments. It's like, why aren't there fat chicks in gaming? It's like,
well, for the same reason a lot of your main male characters aren't fat.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, this is appealing to, of course, the 15-year-old adolescent boys, but, this is also...
A lot of women enjoy this game.
Even though I don't like Bayonetta, I have to say that she is still, as goofy and as characterized and as sexualized as she is, she's still a strong female character.
Yeah, she literally beats up God, for God's sakes.
Not just because she can punch hard. I don't mean like she's physically strong, but it's the sort of world that she's built around, or
Yeah, she literally punches God in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious.
In the world that she's built around, and in the context of that world, she's a strong female character. Like, sure, she's sexualized, but nothing in the game, story-wise, is takes advantage of that. There's no actual there's no actual sexual encounters in this game.
Yeah.
There's no one demeaning Bayonetta. You know, there's no one, you know, calling her a slut or calling
there's no one
her a
calling
whore.
attention to it. Basically,
Yeah,
she
exactly.
exists.
It's not like, oh, look how skimpy you dress. Aren't you just like, you know, worthless? It's like no character says that in here. It's all. Yeah, they just don't call attention to it, and you know that's part of the absurdities. But
like, as much it's like, no one reasonable is attracted to this. Obviously, this is such a caricature of humanity or a sexualized woman, right?
Yeah,
it's like no one rational is actually attracted to it. I'm attracted to her voice. Like, her character, Helena Taylor, is a fucking amazing voice. I love her voice, but beyond that, it's just like, playing this, it felt awesome. It's like, if I was a lot of women have said that they love this game too, because it's amazing, it's awesome, it lets them feel very, very incredibly powerful. Bayonetta is an incredibly powerful character. She is who she is, she does what she wants, she's in complete control of the situation, and she punches God in the fucking face, okay?
Yeah. Don't have to... We can't forget that point.
Yeah, you can't... I'll hammer it home as much as I have to. It's like, but some people would say that because Bayonetta looks like she does and acts like she does, that she entrenches misogyny in whoever plays this game. So it's like, once you get to that argument, we have to laugh at you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
it just doesn't make sense on its own.
That argument doesn't include the context of the game itself.
No.
Like, if you had this running around in Call of Duty, then maybe you would have a point, but this isn't Call of Duty.
Yes. It's all about tone, it's all about context, it's all about flow.
Yeah, and it's all about perspective and context and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
context is so important.
Yeah, like, some people call this game like literally an abomination because it entrenches misogyny. It's like, what? What are you arguing? Are you arguing that there should be no strong, like, sexy characters at all in anything ever? Is that what you're arguing? And they're like, no, we just want to point out the problematic problems. Well, by saying that, you're going to cause developers or stuff to self-censor themselves, and you don't want that. That would make a bland atmosphere. It's like what happened with comic books in the 1950s when Frederick Wertham wrote that book, The Seduction of the Innocent. No one wants that to happen to games. No one. Sorry, I went off a bit of a tangent there.
No, it's still related to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know what? On the flip side of that, you talking about, you know, people self-censoring themselves and stuff. Or you could get the opposite and sort of get the BioWare effect that's been happening this recently. Whereas they'll include every single minority group or whatever as like a passing remark in their game, just so they get good
reviews.
Good reviews from game journalisms, because the game journalists want to be like, oh, look at this game, look how PC it is, isn't that great? And BioWare's like, yeah, look at how equal opportunity we are. And it's like, well, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to craft a game, or is this a PR statement? Is your game a PR statement? If it is, then maybe it's time to take a step back and try to consider your priorities here. Like, you could, you know, I guess manipulate a review thing to give you better reviews, and then you'd get better sales. Yeah, but you could also probably make a good game that has, like, you know, consistent tone.
And get strong legacy sales.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the big problems I was hearing about Dragon Age Inquisition, actually, was that it seems so...
shoehorned?
Oh, it's so ham-fisted and shoehorned. And from, like, videos I've seen, I'm not just going off by, like, what I've read, like, from what I've seen from the games, it's like, you know, the writing has suffered. Because BioWare seems to be trying very hard to... I don't know, just...
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people
look good.
When Mass Effect 3 introduced the gay romance, and Yahtzee Croshaw skewered this perfectly in his Mass Effect 3 review, it's just like, the gay romance came out, and I was fine with it. It's like, it was a cool element to have in the game. I would want more games to have stuff like that. The problem was that it wasn't that well written. It was like, it felt shoehorned, and Yahtzee basically said, oh, because he's the only gay dude, if I'm gay, I have to be gay for him. Yeah. So it's like, it's a problem. You can't just put this stuff in there and just have subpar writing and then expect people to say, oh, well, this game is a masterpiece because it has inclusivity and diversity. Well, if it comes at the expense of everything else. I mean, look at the user reviews on Metacritic of Dragon Age Inquisition. It's like sitting at like 5.8 or 6. It's hovering around that area. And all the critics give it Game of the Year or something, and it's just like, and you could read the bylines. It's like, this is the most inclusive game of all time. Therefore, it's like the Game of the Year. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes, you're missing the point. I mean, I understand. Like, I want more diversity in games, just like everyone else. but I want good games.
But I want it done tastefully.
Yes.
For fuck's sake.
Like, there was this wonderful... I'm trying to think of good gay characters, actually. Or good female characters.
Persona had a very good example. Persona 4, specifically. I can't remember, it's been so long since I played the game, but there was a character who was sort of like, the bully type character, but he was struggling with his identity because he was in the closet. And they actually had a very mature storyline from this not from the point of view of this character, but involving this character. And his sort of coming to, realization and shit like that. And, that's a good way to do it. But, of course, Persona was a game about, identity, all that sort of stuff. Whereas in, Dragon Age Inquisition, unless you would, make it a point to make it a major...
It's actually, you know what, I do see the point of people. I'm trying to rack my brain, think of other good gay characters. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So there is an issue. We can all agree that there's issues. But the
thing is, I mean, there's still, like, oh god.
Gone
Home.
Gone Home. That was the other one.
Yeah. In terms of writing, though, I find there's actually, like, a very low selection of a lot of character tropes that are, like, good and high quality in games. Because a lot of the times it's just, like, like a character's sexuality isn't really ever called into question in a game.
Yeah.
It's just, like, who knows? Like, maybe in Wolfenstein. Maybe your character's gay in Wolfenstein. Like, it doesn't matter,
no,
right?
He's not.
Just
he's not.
Yeah, okay, but you know what I mean, right? But just because, you don't have to call
attention to it, but at the same time...
just to be inclusive. But, I mean...
If we can all just agree that, yes, we need more good characters, but at the same time, the video game industry is a weird thing where 95% of characters are shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's also, white middle-aged guy.
Yeah, even those, it's like...
It's just the syndrome.
There's very few well-written video game characters to start with, and for you to just say, well, because this game has a character of what you want in there, that doesn't mean it's good. It's like, the video game industry has to fix its writing problems first and foremost before it can even think of doing stuff like that. Well, it can do it a lot at the same time. I'm not saying it can't do that. But it has to fix its overall quality at the same time before it can actually really deliver the characters that we are yearning for. And there is a market for this sort of thing. Like, Gone Home made a bucket load of money, actually. I remember. There's lots of games that have come out with more minority and diverse characters, and they're doing good, and that's great. That's awesome if good games are made of that. Tomb Raider, one of my favorite games of last year. It sold a boatload. Apparently Square Enix still decided it was a financial failure, but it sold a boatload, and lots of people love that game. It has a strong female character battling through some of the worst shit imaginable, and if we can have more games like that, then we'll have more games like that, and it'll be a better place for everyone. But you can't just say, well, this game is good because it has minority characters. No, the game has to be good before you take into account the characters, because guess what? Games aren't about characters, they're about mechanics. Characters are a nice little puree on top of or ingredient on top of the rest of the stuff.
I think we can kind of segue that into also another interesting topic.
Okay, go ahead.
You saying, gameplay, or games aren't about characters, they're about gameplay, right? Well, how would you, on what spectrum would then, maybe, let's say, The Walking Dead fall? Would you consider The Walking Dead good gameplay? If it's mostly story based and it's mostly...
Here's the thing, Walking Dead just basically waltzes off the choice systems. It's a system that just has characters in it.
Would you consider it a game?
It is a game because you're manipulating a system. You have certain outcomes. You are battling against other outcomes in the game. It is a game. It's not a very well designed game. Like, let's face it, Season 1 has its major issues in certain sections.
Yeah.
But you are playing a game. But here's the thing, like, when we talk about games, you have to have the systems in place first before you can layer the characters and stuff on them.
Right. But there are a lot of people that would argue against, like, games like The Walking Dead or The Stanley Parable actually being games.
Yes. And I'm tired of having arguments with those people, so I'm not going to go into that argument here, because, quite frankly, they are games. They're just not as deep games as everything else.
But that would raise an interesting question. It's like, extreme do you think you could make a game that was story based with mechanics only supporting
the characters?
Yeah, because obviously compared to this game, where this game
Well,
is very
we already have those.
This game is very mechanics heavy.
Yeah.
And The Walking Dead is very story heavy and mechanics light, right?
Yeah.
How much of an extreme do you think you would be able to take it to The Walking Dead side, to the point where do you think it would be possible to make a game that would be about the story, where the mechanics would take a back seat? Would you still call that a game?
That's an interesting question. I think we already have that with the emergent exploration games,
right?
With like Gone Home, Jazzpunk, Dear Esther. I think that's like the cutting edge. That's like the line. Like
right.
Once you go past there, then you've crossed the line. It's not a game anymore. It's Depression Quest.
Right.
And I think I am conceding that Depression Quest isn't a game. So much so as it's just like a choose your own adventure book.
Right. But could that be considered a game?
That's an interesting question too, isn't it?
Because how would you define a game?
Yeah. This is a debate that isn't going to be settled on this video, so I don't think we should get into it.
I just would like to raise the question while we're at the subject.
Yeah, I've actually put some thought into that. It's like, is a choose your own adventure book a game in itself?
Yeah, I would. I used to get them from the library when I was a kid. You know, I found entertainment in them in the same way that
it's not necessarily a video game, obviously.
No,
it's
not
a game.
A video game. Yeah, exactly. There was a goal in mind. You still had to. The mechanics, I guess, were turning the pages, if you would, right?
Yeah. Who knows? I don't want to.
There's a massive spectrum of many shades of gray between, mechanics and storytelling, and all the things that lie in between there, and what you would consider a game and what you would not consider a game.
Yeah. But this whole thing just sums up our main argument. It's like you have to have the quality game first before you can layer characters and stuff on it, and that's the main issue lots of people have been having. It's like there have been all these characters and stuff just put into a game without regard for the systems that play underneath them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's always the problem, and we can definitely regard when that gets into, gender roles or whatever.
I hate these chests. You have to hit them so often in a short period of time for them to actually break.
It seems kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's like this is basically turned into a button mashing fest.
This game is a button masher, though.
Yeah, but it's a timed button masher.
Right.
There is skill to the button masher.
I guess.
It's like a fighting game without the fighting game.
Yeah, without verses.
Yeah, without verses, basically.
Yeah.
Spectacle fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Yahtzee came up with that term and everyone started using it.
Yeah, it is a good term. Yeah. Spectacle.
Just like my emergent exploration term, which you all started using. I came up with it.
Wait, who's using it?
A few people now. I've been trying to spread the word.
Yeah. Spread the word. Use that.
Just think, I came up with the name of a genre and people are going to start using it. Hopefully.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I mean, I'm making a documentary on it, actually.
Are you?
Yeah. Cool. I'm studying the genre game and I'm going to make a documentary on it, and then people can look to that video for evidence. But anyways.
Yeah, okay. Well, what I was... actually, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say something along the lines of... shit. Yeah, well, when games, start to... I guess start to lean towards more, sexist or maybe not misogynistic, but unequal gender roles and all that sort of stuff in their design. It's something to sort of look down on, not only because of equal opportunity and blah 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 and all that good fine stuff. Yeah, but
what if a game wanted
but
to
also
explore...
also from a design perspective, it should be shunned.
Mm-hmm. But what if a game wanted to explore those power roles?
What power roles?
From a certain historical perspective, the unequal qualities of gender.
You can absolutely do that.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. But the whole thing is you wouldn't have, like, let's say you're making like a historical game piece that is sort of like Victorian era.
Yeah, like Queen Elizabeth Simulator or something.
Yeah, and there would obviously have to be, if you wanted to be historical about it, there would obviously have to be some sort of call to the unequal treatment of not just women, but of course, like cultural divisions, racial divisions, and all that sort of stuff. And you can absolutely 100% call attention to that, and that's fine, because it's accurate and it exists, and it's not something that we should look away. Like, the way we're gonna get over any sort of inequality is through understanding it, and through context is how you can understand stuff like that. And you can do that tastefully, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you have a historical Victorian era piece and stuff like that, right? And all your guys are, you know, wearing suits and shit like that, and then all the women like literally are just like wearing some sort of dead or alive beach volleyball thing. It's like it's a break in the design, and it's also unfair to women, right? It may not be as extreme in that in real life, obviously, with you know, real games, but that's just like I like taking things to the most logical extremes just to figure out, you know, it's like, well,
would this work?
You know, like exactly what is the problem? Is and that problem is, you know, it's women feel like it's an unfair representation of them when they're in games, and they are so out of place in the games.
Yes, obviously it's a matter of context. Like,
like imagine if there was a game where it's just like the women were just completely normal, but every guy in that game was like a really ugly fat neckbeard. Like obviously a lot of dudes would be like, well, what's that about? That's kind of a weird thing. Yeah. And it's kind of the opposite, but you know...
Actually, again, I think there might be a dating game based on that whole scenario.
Probably. But again, when you can take it... You can take the same designs that would be misogynistic in one game and apply it to a game like this, and as long as you have the right context, it's not a problem as far as I'm concerned.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to delve into some testy waters here, but the feminist frequency videos... Obviously, they showed a lot of horrific shit going on in certain video games, but I think a lot of them were taken so far out of context that they were actually rendered meaningless. Like, there was the infamous Hitman Absolution example where you could kill a stripper, and then apparently she spent time positioning the body so she could shoot over it just to make a point. And it was just like, oh, come on, now you're just cherry picking to the worst extreme possible.
Yeah, like, you can do that in like Oblivion, like
it's
like Dark Brotherhood quest. You know, mess with Rufio's body, put him in some sort of crazy position, and then
it's insane.
It's like, insane. Well, yeah, you can do that, but that's you doing that. You know that, right?
But like, one of the things that some of the things that those videos showed, they did show some horrific friggin' examples. Like, but it also had some of that historical, or let's say, I won't say mechanically contextual. Context for the events that were happening, but it had some. You've seen those videos, right?
What?
The feminist frequency videos?
I've heard of them. I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen them?
I've seen clips of people talking about them.
Yeah,
but no, I know. Basically, and there's some ridiculous fucking shit. And I'm totally on the side of better representation. Obviously,
I am too.
But I'm also on the side of not knee-jerking and picking your battles. I do like picking my battles because you
get a stronger argument.
Yeah, you do. And you get you know, you can kind of focus your argument in ways you wouldn't be able to if you're just attacking everything left, right, and center. Like this game, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
She hates this Bayonetta character with a passion because she thinks that she's built solely for the male gaze and therefore she is problematic. And it's like, oh, come on. And one of the phrases in the video she actually said, and I may be misstating this slightly, but basically she said, tropes like this reinforce misogynistic tendencies in the players.
Right, like because of this.
Yeah,
because after I play this game, I'm gonna suddenly like discriminate against women.
Yeah, apparently games cause misogyny, even though they don't cause violence, they cause misogyny. Yeah, so what the hell do we know, right? Yeah. That's the problem people have with those videos. It's not that people are against diversity of representation in games. It's the fact that she's stating stuff like that and presenting her opinion as fact. So that's why a lot of people have a problem with her. I think she has noble intentions, obviously, yes. Better representation for women would be nice. Some of my favorite games have female leads in them. But we can't get too far ahead of ourselves and just start throwing around statements like that, because let's face it, you're basically accusing people of being horrible for just playing games.
Yeah.
At what point do you just put your foot down and say, okay, that's not good?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and yeah, touching upon, you know, the fact that games can apparently cause misogyny but not cause violence and, you know, violent intention, or tendencies, I should say. It's like, yeah, you see a game like, what was the one with the dude in the fucking pig mask that got banned?
Hotline Miami? No, Manhunt.
Oh, yeah, Manhunt. You know, you see games like that, and that was like, you know, the poster child of games cause
violence.
Violent tendencies.
But they didn't.
And, you know, Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
It's hilarious. I mean, these
like
people...
there's so much like when there's so much violence, it's like, is it worse? What is worse? A semi-naked chick, or the fact that in lots and lots of games, the majority of games, I would say, you can brutally murder many people.
Yeah, men mostly.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. There's a trope there called the disposable male, where basically men are just fodder for killing, for being killed, right? So it's like, apparently people don't have a problem with that. They have a problem with, just women, if they are represented slightly off center of someone's political beliefs, then this game is a monstrosity. It must be banned or something.
But that kind of goes into also the sort of cultural view of women.
Yeah,
it's
very obviously
common.
This whole thing comes in an interesting time. I mean,
well, I mean, look at and even in movies, like women always take the sort of like there are definitely female villains, but they're few and far between, and females are usually given the sort of like Puritan sort of like innocent
love interest.
Yeah, or just like the innocent character, or like the pure character, the kind character, the all these there's very, unless they're like straight up like witches or like very specific stereotypes, lots of women don't fall into villainous roles. And the whole thing is that like it even goes into like, well, how do you make a strong female character? It's like a lot of people will just take a female character and put her through trials and lots of pain, and suddenly it's like, there, now you have a strong female character. Like
well,
Tomb
that
Raider.
happened to Lara Croft in Tomb Raider.
Yeah, exactly. And
she had nuance to her character beyond that.
Right, but I mean, like that seems to be the sort of thing. It's like, well, it's like men and women, just it's more acceptable to see a guy in pain, just socially, culturally. It's all it might even be.
Well, here's the thing: this whole fiasco comes about in an interesting time, because we are seeing pushes towards more gender diversity in everything, and minority representation. Everything, we're getting more female leads in movies, television, film. Well, movies and film, same thing. Literature, comic books. We're getting a heavy push towards that. We're getting more minorities into leading roles and stuff. It will happen on its own naturally. Video games are getting that stuff. But you can't just go around saying, well, if you still enjoy this old stuff, which had all these tropes in it, you're a horrible person. No.
Yeah, the thing is, you can tell, like, the thing is, a lot of stories can't be told with a female lead. But a lot of stories can't be told with just a male lead. Like, there are different, again, like for instance, this, even though maybe on a narrative level, it wouldn't change too much if Bayonetta was suddenly a guy, but definitely on...
Well, DMC.
Yeah, exactly. But DMC and this have extremely different feels to them.
Obviously, this is more fluid. Like, when I was playing this game, the controls for this game were so much more fluid and stuff, and it has more of a... you could argue a bit of the symbolic purpose of Bayonetta herself being the way she is, battling against heaven. So you could argue that there's sort of a pseudo-religious subtext to all of this.
Yeah, whatever. You can. That's a stereotype now, to the point though, just like angels and demons and shit like that. Like, that's not even that was totally stolen from Christianity. The whole
You've said before though that the designs for the enemies in this game are actually pretty good. Yeah,
they're not bad. The thing that they kind of lack a lot of times, I find, is they don't really have a good silhouette, because there's a lot just going on with them. Like, it's very busy. But the thing is, the environments and the enemies have such like a visual just dissonance between the two. Like, you can definitely see what's an enemy and what's like just part of the environment. There's no,
looks like the budget ran out in the cutscenes.
Yeah, and the cutscenes are so weird, eh?
Yeah, and maybe they kept it over almost like as a nostalgic callback to the first game. Like, this whole cutscene still. I don't know.
Probably. I wonder if they were trying to make it look like a comic book.
Who knows?
It just seems really weird. I don't know. I don't dig this.
No, it's one of the stylistic weirdness that just went a bit too far for me.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's weird is some things are moving.
Yeah.
Just like the particle effects and some random shit is still moving.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just weird all around. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. Damn cutscenes. Yeah. Actually, if it weren't for Nintendo, this sequel wouldn't have gotten made.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, considering so many people were decrying the Wii U, and this game being considered for a Game of the Year thing. Did this win Game of the Year anywhere else?
It's been nominated. It was nominated at the Video Game Awards, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Apparently someone went on Twitter and said, oh, basically, if Bayonetta 2 wins, I'm going to have to quit this organization. It's just like, oh, come on.
Oh, Drama Llama.
Oh, here's what I was going to talk about. The Polygon review of this.
Yeah.
You've read it, right?
No.
Have you heard about it?
Was that the one that you were talking about?
No.
Then no.
The Polygon review, Bayonetta 2, basically spent a full 35 to 45% of the text complaining about how sexist this game was.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me about that. And it's like, well, what about the game?
Yeah. It's like, one of the things I've been doing over the past couple weeks is that I've been collecting game reviews that are biased or have a political agenda to them, and one of the common themes I'm seeing is in game reviews where you see the reviewer going into a game with a bias or an agenda. He will spend more of text going over those positions in the review than he would on game mechanics and stuff. So there was this funny little thing, the Tropical 5 review. I think it was like 12 paragraphs, and I think 4 or 5 of them were based on his political bias towards the game.
Oh, jeez.
And basically there was like 2 or 3 paragraphs that actually went over the mechanics of the game.
Right, yeah.
And the rest was just describing certain instances of the game. So it was terrible. It's like game reviews exist to provide context for the reader so they can make a purchase decision.
Yeah.
If you spend too much of a game review focusing on one little tiny little aspect of the game when there's so much more going on with the game, like in Bayonetta 2, there's a lot of depth to this game. If you spend, let's say, out of a 20 paragraph review, 12 going over how sexist or the conservative ideologies of a game, so to speak, is, you're leaving only 8 paragraphs for the game mechanics. Now, how does that make you look as a game reviewer? How does that make anyone look? Really?
Complainy, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Yeah, no, it's crazy, because, I mean, you don't hear that sort of shit with, like, film reviews, eh?
Yeah.
You don't hear, like, in Transformers reviews, like, just... Like, yeah, people complain about, you know, oh, yeah, all it is, you know, it's a movie about explosions and bouncing tits, and with robots kind of thrown into the mix, maybe. But, like, you know, it's usually like a one-off sort of sucker punch joke in movie reviews. A lot of the time they'll actually go and say, you know, well, for instance, Michael Bay makes a lot of the same cuts, and, you know, his cinematography is repetitive, and, you know, he tends to make explosions boring, and how do you do that? And every single shot is made to be epic. Well, even if it's not an epic scene, and that sort of takes away the, you know, impact from the actual...
you'll see this in film reviews.
And that's like a good critique on why Michael Bay films suck.
They'll talk about plot points, they'll talk about how characters are dark, they'll talk about bad shots or something, they'll give the viewers enough information where they can make a decision whether to see the film, even if the review slams the film or something, or the television show or whatever. It's like, I've been reading reviews of friggin' Cars that give me more details on the cars than the reviewer's personal biases about comfort. Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is the problem with video game reviews a lot of times now. And here's another theory that I have about why video game reviews are so bad right now. It's because you remember until around 4 or 5 years ago, game reviews would basically consist of the reviewer checking off boxes. Yeah, absolutely. It would be like, oh, this game is this, and this, therefore it's good. Yeah. They wrote themselves in that corner, and then all of a sudden they pulled a shift on their readers, saying, oh, we're about the art of video games now, so we're going to talk about the more artistic aspects and stuff. Right. They pulled this switcheroo on their audience, and they expect the audience to just follow blindly. It's just like, you can't do that. You're going to get called out on that hypocritical stance. It's like, you can't have this situation where, oh, I'm just checking boxes to see if this game is good, then good, and then the next day go, oh, no, I have to talk about the art of what this means in the game, in a game review. I'm going to be clever, I'm going to be well-read, I'm going to be listened to as a critic of the arts. Yeah. You can't do that. You know, I would actually prefer an approach similar to that rather than checking boxes, because checking boxes really doesn't tell you much about... Yeah, but it's all about the context of what game reviews have been up until around 5 or so years ago. And most video game reviews still consist of checking boxes nowadays. Exactly. That's a lot of the problems I have with game reviews, is that all it is just... clipping through the wall, through the wall. Nice. Anyways. There we go. What were those things? Yeah, no, game reviews are very, you know...
And then this happened in the game. This is.
This game is multiplayer.
I played the game. Yeah, this game has multiplayer. The multiplayer is cool. The bosses are cool. It's just a list of like.
This game is 20 hours long.
Yeah.
There's
no actual like. They never write about what. Well, what do you what's the experience actually playing this game?
Yeah.
Like what.
It's weird. Like, video game reviewers love to complain about how their readers don't like their review style, but at the same time, you guys just aren't that good. Like, if you compared yourself to a real film or television or literature critic, you guys are mere drops in the pond. No wonder games journalism has such a bad reputation nowadays. It's like these people...
Yeah, look at Roger.
These people didn't care before, and now all of a sudden they start caring?
Maybe we need a Roger Ebert.
Maybe we do. Who knows? Roger Ebert actually, I think, has a lot of influence on video games because of his stance that video games weren't art.
Yeah.
I think most of what games journalism is now a reaction to that, which is, I think, part of the problem. So we are where we are.
People out to prove
that they're artistic.
Whatever. You know what? This is actually a good time. Another segue into some other subject.
Segue away.
The more I see, the more I'm actually involved in the effects industry, because that's where I work, right?
Yeah.
The more I see a very big trend towards even films, but also games as not so much, not even like, okay, let's take a step back. Sorry. Movies, film, all that sort of stuff. It's considered art, and for a long time it's been considered art. But now there's definitely a trend where these huge budget, very heavy effects movies that are pretty much only entertaining when you have a big theater screen in front of you, and they're designed, by the way, to make as much theater income as possible. These games, they're not, or these movies, I should say. Sorry, like your Transformers, your Avengers, all the your Marvel movies and stuff like that. That is it's entertainment. Now it's I wouldn't really even consider it like art, and I think there should be that division, sort of, even in music. Right, you have people who are stage performers.
There's a cinematic shot.
Yeah, just because they have a song, sure, but I wouldn't classify them as artists. They have no investment in the art form of music themselves. They're performers. They get up there, they lip sync, they have a few catchy songs. They make a lot of money at concerts. Right. Same with movies. You have these big, huge theater-driven projects like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And movies like Gravity and Avatar and shit like that, and they make absurd amounts of money in theaters, and that's all that the people who make these movies care about. And those I would classify not as film art, but as film
Gravity
entertainment.
I don't think.
Okay, yeah, Gravity was really good. I'm sorry,
really
sorry. Or Interstellar. Like, I don't know. Gravity's kind of like
Pick your
on that
battles.
line. Gravity's kind of like on that line, though.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And I think games should also be considered. There should be artistic games, and then there's also games that are purely entertainment. Because if games were universally considered an art, I wouldn't want my Gears of War getting mixed up with my Journeys.
Yes.
Like Journey is more of an artistic game, or what would you consider like a highly artistic game? Something.
I'm Dear Esther.
Yeah, Dear Esther, right? Let's say Dear Esther, right? Like you have Dear Esther and or Two Brothers
or Never Alone.
Never Alone. Yeah, you have these games that are very clearly have a point, an artistic message, a purpose, whatever you want. Our art is about expression. So you have these games that have expression, but then you have games that just don't. You have your Call of Duties, you have your you have your League of Legends. Like, what kind of expression is League of Legends? Is that there's art inside the game. It is a game that contains art. League of Legends has really nice art, but it is not art in itself.
I see what you're getting.
It's entertainment.
Yes. Entertainment, yes. Obviously, there are games that are designed solely to be entertaining, like Call of Duty, but people read into them. Like, you have people like Ben Kuchera, one of the infamous people who just loves to call his readers idiots for some odd reason.
Right.
Says, well, Call of Duty is promoting this fascist ideology, and it's just like, really? Is it really? It's just really trying to be an entertaining game.
Do most people that play Call of Duty know what fascism is?
Yeah. I mean, no. It's like, when you apply critical theories like that to stuff which isn't being trying to be art in any sort of sense of way. I mean, obviously there's art to the process of making those films that way. Obviously there's very artistic elements going into certain games that are meant purely to be entertainment.
Yeah.
But you're never going to take those games seriously, are you? Unless they exemplify the art of fun in a way that's above all else, like Super Mario Brothers, which is a work of art simply because it's perfect.
Right. Well, it's very simple.
Yes,
very,
it's perfect.
Very elegant. Very
Elegant,
yeah, exactly. You can say the gameplay elements themselves are a form of art, right? Like game design, I would consider game design a form of art a lot of times. But of course, if you're going to say video games are art as a blanket statement, that would mean that those games as a whole, every single element of those would have to attribute to the artistic message that game is trying to send.
Let's just say this: video games are an artistic medium. That's a better
oh,
phrase.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
a better phrase.
I'm not arguing that point at all.
I think that's what people are meaning, though, when they say video games are art, obviously.
I don't know. I don't know if they are. I would say that a lot of people that are saying video games are art would compare, a game disc and the contents within it, to a painting. You would have that and its contents. It's like, is that an art piece?
I see what you're saying, yes.
You know what I mean? And in some cases, I would say yes. Some games are art pieces.
But here's the thing,
in a lot of cases, no.
Digital medium, is only like a 40-year invention of humanity. It's entirely unprecedented. So we have to, obviously art isn't just this static kind of like definition. We have to evolve it as humanity evolves
but
its communication technology.
The definition of art is already pretty flexible. It's just basically the expression, it's expression.
But at the same time, I'm just pointing out that we have to be flexible in our
of course,
responses.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like a lot of people who are traditionalists.
Also, this is the most annoying character in video game history. Well, one of them.
Looks like it.
He has a British accent. A British punk accent.
That's the worst, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently he's amnesiac in this part of the game too. It's like, here's the funny thing, people. This character is so boring and laughable that I forgot entirely what his plot was in this game. It's only Bayonetta I remember.
It reminds me of that stupid little kid in that Final Fantasy game.
I don't remember. There's lots of stupid little kids.
Yeah, any kid in Final Fantasy sucks, basically, as a general rule. I'm sure there's some sort of obscure exception that someone's gonna...
Little brother's A Tale of Two Sons, probably. Anyways.
What? No, I'm talking about Final Fantasy.
Anyways.
That was a cool
Look
game.
at this. Look at this. Look!
Yeah! Pretty cool finisher, actually. I like that.
Yeah. Pro tip, when you're playing this game, invest in the bats ability. I forget the exact name of it, but invest in the ability that lets you turn into bats.
Oh, and you can just dodge everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it'll give you some more leeway in terms of dodging it. If an attack hits you right at the second that you dodge, it'll give you just a bit more leeway and some more burn time, I guess. It'll save your ass, is what I'm saying.
This game kind of reminds me of the angel design actually looks a lot like Darksiders too. Or Darksiders, I should say. Just Darksiders.
Yeah. Exercise some character design with some fucking restraint.
Yeah, TLDR, I guess, up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another favorite Yahtzee quote. I quote him a lot. I quote him and Gabriel Morton a lot, but they're awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, going back to that digital medium thing.
Yeah.
It's actually digital art is very criticized among a lot of traditional art communities.
Yeah, because they think it takes less effort to make.
Yeah, like we sit there and we say, computer, I would like a valley with many dragons flying around and make sure it's nighttime and it's snowing.
Obviously, there's templates to make everything a bit more efficient, but at the same time...
Well, there are... What we have are tools, and the thing that digital art kind of lends itself, that traditional art doesn't, is that there's a lot of focus on technique in traditional art. In digital art, you have these tools that sort of emulate those techniques, like brush strokes and actual physical mediums like pastel and watercolor. You can emulate all that without, you know, you don't need to spend years learning how to control watercolor. It just looks like watercolor. But the thing is that now that you have all these sort of like these tools that allow you to do that and kind of bypass the technique, and there still is technique, mind you, but it's a very focused, digital art's very focused on artistic theory and artistic knowledge, which is the one thing a lot of traditional people, first of all, don't even know, because a lot, you know, this whole, you know, modernism, postmodernism, all this abstract stuff is very, it's not technical heavy.
There was once an artist who made a series of paintings that was basically just colored lines, one single line on a sheet of canvas. It sold for millions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was absurd. I believe the stripe was blue.
And then he made a series of it called Colored Lines. It's like,
so
just because you paint on a canvas does not mean that you are...
A lot of traditional artists don't have discipline, and one thing you need as a traditional artist, or I mean as a digital artist, I'm sorry, is a very heavy discipline on, you know, color theory and anatomy and very technical stuff like that. Whereas technique-wise, you can sort of take a sit back and just be like, you know, fucking...
I made this.
Yeah. Like it sort of allows, like it's very fast, and it allows you to just have a very purely creative and almost and very practical as well, sort of just like art piece, right? It's much more practical because the digital medium is so much faster that you can rip out, like, you know, 5 paintings in a week and you know, have,
if you're skilled, right? Obviously, I'm not a great artist.
No, it still takes a lot of skill. And learning Photoshop itself, like Photoshop is not the most difficult program to learn, but it goes very deep. You can do a lot of stuff with Photoshop. And someone who's a professional painter and can be extremely good at painting might not be that great at photo manipulation or you know, some of the other aspects that Photoshop has.
The thing that digital art obviously lacks in comparison to traditional art forms is permanency. Like if the digital, like let's just say, look at Logic Pro. If the codecs change, that file can't be opened.
Exactly. Things. No, I agree with that. But I mean, you can always print out a digital piece onto a canvas.
But
but no, I mean, I know what you mean.
It's not a given.
And the thing is, it's not really, like, I would actually very much like to see a digital art museum or like an art exhibition of a digital artist. I think that would be a really cool idea. But yeah, there's so much of it out there, and a lot of it just because a lot of, you know, the artists are using the same tool set of, you know, Photoshop or Corel Paint or whatever they want. A lot of it ends up being very homogenized. There's a lot of bandwagoning and copy paste in digital art, which is, you know, once you've seen one mech suit, you've seen so many other mech suits. But
I've actually been more impressed by a lot of digital art than I have by most traditional artists.
Well, that's because a lot of the again, a lot of the traditional art is not focused anymore on very heavy you know, technical.
A lot of the concept art I see for some games reminds me of some of the old Impressionist paintings.
Actually, funny thing is, technically, a lot of what you see on the internet isn't concept art. That's promotional art.
I had a book of concept art.
A lot of that's promotional art. But yeah, you're right. Like a lot of concept art books that you see will have a lot of, you know, like you'll see like early ZBrush sculpts and turnarounds and stuff like that. That's a lot of concept stuff. But a lot of early concept art is really close to being called scribbles, and it's just like you'll have a page of just like alien heads.
Like, well, I had the book The Art of Halo. Designing a virtual world. And they had some early Master Chief designs.
Exactly.
Sorts of stuff.
You'll see a lot of in concept art books. There's a lot of concept art and promotional art and all that sort of stuff that you see.
But obviously, digital art has its strengths and its weaknesses, just like any other art form.
any medium. And I'd say the biggest strength that digital art has is its practicality. Just in using it within film and games and stuff like that. It's like integral to the pipeline now. Like absolutely, you cannot, like, I cannot emphasize enough how like you wouldn't be able to do it if you were an oil painter. You wouldn't be able to do it fast enough.
Well, obviously, film used to rely on matte paintings, traditional effects, but now they've gone mostly to digital.
There's still a lot of matte painting in movies, and matte painting has gone digital as well. So I mean, a lot of most backgrounds you see are just matte paintings, and all a matte painting is just basically a shitload of photos bashed together to make it look like it's actually like, you know, a background or a setting or something like that.
Yeah. But just to use the example, music is very digital.
You're giving me that fry.
Oh. It's cold, you wouldn't like it.
Nah,
but
French fries are like the worst.
Yeah. But music, the vast majority of music made nowadays is digital. Like, it's recorded on digital mediums, it's made in digital mediums, composed in digital mediums.
A lot of it's just a synth, even though it sounds like it's
but the thing is, it stands with traditionally recorded music any day of the week. It's like, it's not about the medium it's delivered on, it's the quality.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's talk about Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, Bayonetta. Look, I like this guy's sword face.
Yeah. That's one way to tell someone to pluck off.
There you go. Pluck off? He's got lots of fun.
She says that. Yahtzee misconstrued it as fuck off, which was kind of hilarious.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But she actually, if you take a deep listen to it, she actually says pluck off, which is what?
Maybe it's because he has feathers.
Who knows? Huh. Obviously, look, she's taking on fucking gods. How are you not, like...
With her Nerf guns?
Yeah, how do you not, like, go, this is awesome?
I don't know.
Because misogyny.
Because of reason.
Because misogynies.
Because the misogynies. Oh.
Misogynies.
Yeah. Again, I would be very angry if Bayonetta's design was in my Skyrim game.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, yeah, what the fuck?
Well, there are certain armor sets in the game.
Yeah, they're questionable, but a lot of them, of course, are like sort of like the evil armors. You know, the armors that are supposed to have that sort of feel. And you know, the Shivering Isles had hilarious armor. The dark, on the side of Dementia, there were the guards that had these really I think they were called like the dark. Seducers or something like that, and the guards, and they wore this really skimpy armor. But if you were a male character and you got that armor, it would also be extremely revealing and skimpy, and you looked like a fool. You looked like a Chippendale with the armor, and I was like, yeah, I approve of that. Even though I hate the armor and it's shit. It's like,
at least it's equality.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's thematic. You know,
at least it's
like,
consistent.
it's called the Seducer armor. It wasn't called like the Fire God's armor or something like serious, and then suddenly you look like a stripper. But I don't know.
If it was just the males if it was just the females who had the bikini or the skimpy or whatever you're talking about, because it has the male and because it also has such a ridiculous name and a ridiculous context, it works. It's not misogyny. It's a game concept that runs with it. Yeah.
Well, going back to we were talking about Dragon's Crown earlier.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking about this, and a lot of people were complaining about the sorceress or whatever her name was, when you see, like, there were like the male characters in Dragon's Crown are just ridiculously sexualized as well. But maybe like a guy wouldn't see that because it's very obvious. Yeah. You see the dude with this big hulking armor. And like he's got like the littlest girly man head, and he does have that sort of Japanese like androgynous look, and it's like, well, what about him? And everyone's like staring at the sorceress and like pointing at her tits, and it's like, no, well, guys, look at this guy, he's ridiculous.
Look at the guy who's ripped so hard that it's literally physically impossible to be so ripped.
Look at the dwarf who's got pecs the size of the moon.
Baseballs.
The moon, yeah, just. No, not baseballs. Baseballs are small.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe
footballs.
nipples the size. Yeah, maybe nipples the size of baseballs. But this guy, the dwarf, is huge. He's just got these huge pecs, and he doesn't wear a shirt. And it's like, well, what about him? Oh no, that's okay because it's a male power fantasy. It's like, well,
apparently sexism doesn't exist against men, anyways.
Well, you know what? I don't know. I'm kind of divided on that because that argument can be dangerous as well. Just saying, oh yeah, well, guys are failure. Yeah, it's kind of dangerous to be just like, oh yeah, well, guys are mistreated and sexism exists for guys too, and it's like, yeah, okay, but that argument isn't helping anything. That argument isn't helping the fact that there is sexism more so for women, but you know, also for guys, right?
Yeah.
You don't just like.
But it does exist. Like, we can't just ignore that at the same time.
Of course, it does exist, but I mean.
I find that argument actually a bit dangerous, what you're saying, too. It's like, well, there's more of it for us. Well, yeah, but you can't just go swinging for the extremes and hope to come up with equality at the end of it.
But if you're, like, a white guy in Canada or in the US or something like that, it's like, it's like that's the safest thing you can be in most places.
Yes.
Maybe you can get stabbed
obviously,
in some places.
yes, minority.
But,
I'm an Aboriginal, I know that.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, yeah, everyone's got problems, right? We all have problems. We all need to work on all these problems. And just pointing fingers isn't going to help. It's like, okay, well, women are you know, misrepresented in games. It's like, well, guys aren't exactly misrepresented in games. We have a lot of representation. So why don't we fix that one problem, and then we'll get to our problems, and then it's fine. We're already in, like, first place, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
We can help other people. You're like allowed to help other people with their problems. You don't have to keep saying, "Oh, first world problems." It's like ignoring that just feels like ignoring problems to me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like just because you're in a good place, of course, doesn't mean you don't have your problems. Like, you always have to, you know, we should always be improving quality of life and representation and all that good stuff.
Wow, that was a powerful finisher.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you don't do that by delegitimize it, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Obviously, it's convoluted what's going on.
Yeah, it's a hard stance to take. Because
it's not even just in video games either. It's everywhere. It's,
no, exactly. It is everywhere.
But it's become apparently it's particularly egregious in video games. So I just don't want video games to become the same sort of sanitized moonscape that comics were after the Seduction of the Innocent fiasco.
Right.
Like, I really don't want that. Like, if you don't know what happened, it was a moral panic because some guy pointed out the gay or homosexual overtones and sexual overtones of Wonder Woman, Batman, comic books in general, the violence in comic books and all that sort of stuff, turning America's youth into apparently psychos.
Sure.
And comics were set back decades after that. It was only until the beginning of the Dark Ages in the 1980s that everything was able to become better again.
Yeah, but it did become better.
Yeah, it did become better eventually, but I don't want that. I don't want gaming to be set back decades just because some fucking woman makes a couple videos on the internet
with way too much money.
Yes.
Those videos should not have cost that much money. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? You know what's funny? Someone went over all the things that she promised. She's only delivered 4 videos out of the 12, and the projected completed date based on the release time she's had for the videos that she's released so far is 2020.
Interesting.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
yeah, everybody's got their problems. That's
yeah.
the point. But
to err is human.
Yeah. I don't know, something like that.
Noble intentions, like just shitty
yeah.
like ways of executing.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say on that matter.
I mean, I don't know why it's so hard to just be like, okay, someone's voicing their opinion and their problems or something like that, and then I don't see why it's so hard to say, okay, yeah, you've got problems, let's see what we can do to fix that, and then I have problems as well. We can, you know, we can fix both our problems. Instead, it's like, oh, you think you have problems? I have problems too, and
well,
it's just like
it wasn't exactly like that. I mean, come on, you're simplifying the issue.
Of course, I'm simplifying it,
but here's the thing, her words, like when she came out with that, because of the actions of trolls and whatever, those horrible fucking people on the internet, gaming as a whole was painted as this whole misogynist wasteland.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because a lot of the people I know, a lot of males, a lot of females, are gamers. They identify as gamers. Like, it doesn't matter if they play casual or hardcore, some of them people genuinely identify as gamers. And they feel like they're being unfairly attacked and maligned just because of the actions of people who can't be reasoned with. I mean, people have been studying trolls only very recently, and they've been finding out that they're just stupid motherfuckers who care not about what damage their actions cause. It's like, you can't reason with trolls.
They probably don't understand.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't understand the consequences of their actions as well. It's like, and it's not just young people. They found one of the articles I looked at that studied trolls is like, it was a 58-year-old woman yelling at people on the internet, insulting people, trolling people, and she's like, well, I see no problem with it. And it's just like, oh, for fuck's sakes. These people, you can't just let the negativity define something. The ANC used to be a terror group. If you don't know what that is, the African National Congress in South Africa. Nelson Mandela's party.
Yeah.
He was considered a terrorist by the United States until, what was it, 2008?
Yeah.
I'll show you around this, George.
Yeah, it's all crazy, just, I don't know.
Makes two of us.
And that's why I don't like people simplifying the issue to just like, yeah, there's problems. It's more complicated.
I don't know. No, I don't know if it's more complicated than everyone has problems, because that doesn't seem like a very simple way to say it. I mean,
whatever.
Yeah,
Bayonetta 2 is our game of the year for 2014. So let's talk about 2014. The games that came out that year. Obviously, there were lots of disappointments. We said it earlier in this video. Watch Dogs, Titanfall, Ass Creed. And I will continue to say Ass Creed until it releases another good game like Black Flag.
or maybe, like the Witcher guys, they'll release some sort of enhanced edition that isn't just one long, you know about that, right?
No,
The enhanced
Witcher 3?
edition- No, sorry, not the Witcher 3. The Witcher 2 enhanced edition. I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, they did a really cool thing. Those guys, I like those guys.
What'd they do?
They revamped the entire combat system, and then re-released it for console, I believe. And then everyone who had it on PC got this big, huge update for free and got like expansion packs and shit like that. It was good. So, I mean, if Ubisoft could actually nut the fuck up and like just a giant free DLC that
Don't do
is
that.
just like
Those cables are very fragile.
okay, that is just like, hey guys, now Assassin's Creed Unity works.
The name's Loki.
That would be great.
Apparently, after they just patched it, it's actually worse off than it was at launch.
I'm not surprised.
What is it with Ubisoft this year? They fucked up.
They're the new EA. That's what's with it. Seriously, EA. You know what? Honestly, ever since EA got that newfangled,
Worst company in America award.
no, they got a new, not CEO. Did they? No. VP of sales? No. They got a new big guy. And ever since then, you know, they've been staying out. They haven't been good, amazing, but they've been staying out of the spotlight. You know, Ubisoft is.
Well,
not.
Ubisoft released good games this year. That's the issue. It's like Far Cry 4, Child of Light. Those are two very good games. Child of Light is one of my favorite of this year. You should all play it. It's a great children's game. But then they just released so many disappointing ones, and ones that were technically broken upon launch.
Oh yeah, and then there's the Watch Dogs thing.
Yeah, it's like,
Watch Dogs and...
come on. If someone was able to just do 5 seconds of work and unlock the PC graphics options that made it almost look as good as that E3 demo,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing?
Just.
Ubisoft.
That's such a marketing. I don't know. I don't know if it is or not, but to me that sounds like such a fucking marketing decision. They don't want their console version to seem inferior to their PC version. It's because something about sales. Meh.
Yeah, wow. Oh, it was a big mess for Ubisoft this year. Just a disappointing year in general for AAA games. Like, Dark Souls 2 was the only AAA game of the first half of the year that I think was any actually classic territory, or entering it, or near it.
Well, that was pretty good. It did feel a little bit watered down from the first one.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Like, Dark Souls 1 was like...
I just...
There's something else about it, man.
Yeah, I know. It really had this...
It really had to be toned down in order for it to be more popular, because you don't have a game that hard and have it be massively popular.
You know what? I miss people not caring about the popularity of their games. I miss niche games.
Yeah, but games have to make money. So I understand.
Hey, the budget of Dark Souls was minuscule.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, like, I'm just
It
putting
made
that
a
out there.
lot of money. It made more money than
I'm just putting
I
that
think
out there.
Tomb Raider did, didn't it?
Dark Souls 2 though sold a fuck ton of copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Of course
bought
it did.
I bought it new digitally.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever bought a AAA game new digitally, like full AAA.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with it. I spent over, I think, 120 hours in it,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, I think I spent around... Oh, jeez. I spent a long time on my first Dark Souls 1 playthrough. I think I spent almost 90 hours on it, but I had like the DLC. The big
Oh, I thought
DLC.
you were talking about DS2.
No, Dark
Anyways,
Souls 1. Yeah.
then it was just, the first half of the year was just indie games. Great indie games, and it was just like, wow, wow.
Yeah, the
This might
indie
be-
games were great. This
might be the best year in indie gaming history, and then the last 2 months hit, and suddenly all the great AAA games are coming out. Or all the newsworthy ones, at least. like Bayonetta 2,
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Well, I think the new gen consoles are sort of starting to get in the groove, and it's the first Christmas that they're out, if I'm not mistaken.
No, second.
Second, yeah, but the first one, like, they were being released that Christmas.
Yeah.
And they didn't exactly have the greatest lineup. I think now is they're kind of trying to, you know, make their lineup a little more respectable, give people an actual reason to buy the Xbone and the PS4.
It's
That's
funny
the
that
fact
the
just-
Xbone dropped the Kinect. Like after
Oh,
they
I love
stated
it.
it was essential.
I love it. Oh my god.
And no one, I bought
You know
this. I bought my Xbox One because it was in a bundle for $350 and it had
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Unity. It didn't come with the Kinect.
Yeah.
The Kinect version was still $500. I was like, no one's gonna buy that.
Yeah, no. No, you know what though? As much as people are always like, oh, you know, oh man, what they're such fucking like flip floppers. Oh yeah, look at these guys, you know, backpedaling. But you know, even though they were being dicks in the beginning, you know, like good on them.
They're trying to improve their product.
Yeah, you know, yeah, good on them for dropping the Kinect. Like I'm glad that they had the balls to say, yeah, you know, yeah, we were totally fucking wrong.
Look at this torture attack. That was lovely.
Nice.
Fucking lovely. But Microsoft being in second place in the console wars so far is actually proven very good for consumers.
Who's
Because
in-
obviously the price drops.
Who's in first?
PS4.
Would you not the Wii U?
No, the Wii U sold abysmally, man.
Really?
It's sold like at most 7.9 million consoles worldwide.
I don't know if it's that low, is it?
It is.
Oh.
It might change after this Christmas, obviously.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it's been in last place the whole time. The Wii outsold it during Black Friday this year.
Yeah, well, the Wii is a monster. Apparently, the Wii has made Nintendo so much money that they can, like... I can't remember.
They can post $100 million losses for the next 23 years or something.
Yeah, something crazy. It's like, oh my god.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, so... I don't know. I personally am a very big fan of the Wii U right now.
Yeah.
It seems to be the only console concerned with being a games console, and the lineup is getting more and more.
Yeah. Did you hear they're
Just
making a
respect.
new console?
Nintendo?
Yeah, they're making a new console already.
What's that?
They haven't announced details, but Shigeru Miyamoto already said that the next Mario game is being withheld for those consoles.
Really?
Yep. So they're abandoning the Wii U in about a year and a half.
Interesting.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's happened.
Oh, that's news to me.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, that's a lot of missed potential if you ask me.
Yeah.
You know what they really missed? I don't know if I covered this. I don't know if I talked about this last time. I don't think I did.
It
It's
might have been
quite a
The
while.
Last of Us or
Yeah.
Gone Home.
Yeah, it might have been.
That we didn't
one
end
of
up
the
releasing.
One of the big things that I think people are missing out on. I'm talking about like game developers, designers, whatever. Is asymmetrical multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge possibility. Like, just imagine like the Wii U, you know, you got that big screen or something like that, and you have one of those games. I can't remember the one game that was the one player plays the boss, the rest of the players play the characters that take the boss down.
Evolve?
Yeah, imagine a game like Shadow of the Colossus where like one guy was on the big screen and he was the Colossus and a bunch of dudes were trying to take him down. Like, that would be sick.
That would be sick.
Or even just fucking Mario Party for
Actually,
Christ's
Evolve
sake.
is a game I'm very much looking forward to.
Like Mario Party on that controller would be sweet. Like I hate the new Mario Parties, but the old Mario Parties were cool. I think, you know, Mario Party.
Mario Party. It's sad. It's sad because obviously when I was playing this game at your place on the Wii U, I was actually very much liking the experience of the Wii U.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do. I don't know. I think it gets a bad rap a lot of times, and all of granted, their decisions have been pretty bad, and
Yeah. If you
I
only
can- I
now
can
embrace
see-
online
yeah.
multiplayer.
I can definitely see why people are kind of shunning the Wii U. I'm surprised they're dropping it. Considering Smash 4 just came out, you'd think that they would.
Well, apparently it wasn't the barn burster in terms of console sales that they were hoping for. So.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
But
Smash 4 's
Nintendo will survive. It's a video game
Yeah,
institution.
no, they'll survive.
So how close are we? We are 13 minutes away from the end. So,
Cool.
anything you want to talk about?
I don't know. Maybe the actual game itself, Bayonetta.
Alright, so the controls for this were super precise. I never felt like I was being jerked around by the controls. The
Yeah.
camera itself was another issue entirely, because
Yeah.
you're seeing how it handles like enemies when you're too close
Yeah,
to them and you're trying to rotate the camera.
spins around and
Or it makes them
goes
see
off.
through. It can actually obscure a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on the screen sometimes, so it's...
Yeah, it is very busy. But like I said before, there's very distinct visual split between the environment and the enemies, and
Yeah.
so you can always see what the enemy is, but yeah, it gets hard to concentrate, and the game kind of gives me a headache after watching it for too long.
Yeah, it was. I had to play through it because it was getting nominated for shit for our Game of the Year awards.
Yeah. Do you think you would have played through it if that wasn't the case?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have played through it.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the first Bayonetta simply because I haven't had much of a reason to.
Yeah, I tried the first Bayonetta, I believe, but I was very... I'm not really a fan of big beat 'em ups and button mashers and stuff like that.
Well, spectacle fighters have their
Spectacle
place,
fighters.
obviously.
Yeah, I do like this. I like spectacle in games. I like spectacle a lot in games, but I don't know.
Spectacle.
I don't know.
Testicles.
There's just something about it that that sort of turns me off to those kind of games.
And funny that you say that in a game of Bayonetta too.
Yeah. You know what? It might be. No.
Nah. Some genres just aren't for you. I don't like fighting games.
Yeah.
Like, I seriously don't like fighting games because I feel like the AI is constantly cheating.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
No, I know it's
Fighting,
I know there's a lot of nuances that aren't.
There are a lot of nuances that exist in fighting games that aren't in
but
other games.
It just isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, there's
That's
this
fair
game
enough.
called Abyss Odyssey released this year for the Xbox 360 and other platforms.
Yeah.
It's a roguelike, but it's basically just a fighting game. But here's the thing, the AI cheats. It reads your button inputs and then reacts faster than you can react to that. So it's like, fuck you, game.
In
fuck
Smash
you.
Bros, they do that too. The computers always power shield you. It's very obvious that they're reading your inputs, but
Yeah.
I think we were supposed to be talking about Bayonetta, though.
Yes.
You're just kind of jumping around right now. There's not too
Yeah,
much
I
to
always
talk about.
I like jumping around. It gives the listeners something to root for. Can Brendan draw Kyle back to the line of conversation? Time will find out, or time will tell.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. I remember when you were playing this game, you had asked me what I thought about the sort of, like, the visuals and.
So what do you think?
Looks like you found a good
I don't know. I'm
reason
always
to
kind of
visit.
split on this game. Like,
I'm
what
all
the
about
things that they do.
Angela Kim's golden
They're very intentional. Like, they have a lot of intentional design choices, and they have a lot of, it's all goofy and absurd and wacky and, kind of Japanese sort of aesthetic. But you know what? Like, honestly, I don't really like that sort of style. I don't like the whole, like, hyper everything. I've never really liked
Yeah, it's a
sort
bit
of that
weird.
crazy everything cranked to 11.
Lollipop Chainsaw had a lot of the
Yeah.
same flaws.
I don't like as much as the design of the enemies is cool. Like, I'm kind of getting sick of. I don't know what it is, but angels always have to be some sort of, like, futuristic technology,
Titan.
crazy gold and white. I don't understand why. Yeah, big titans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of do have their own spin on it in this, but
The demons in this game are actually kind of nice and neat.
yeah, some of them are pretty cool. But I don't know,
Obviously,
like,
they're derivative.
you can see, like, the clock design there, like, even the fucking hands of that. Yeah, they're just all crazy, and look at the swords are just
Overly intricate.
yeah, it's like they just look kind of like they look all like they're toys. It's like they're trying to break the rule of cool. I don't know, it's crazy, and, like, everything's super colorful, and, like, look at the cursive on, like, the gates of hell. Like, I understand what they were going for there, but it's just so, like, visually, like,
It's
intense,
noisy.
I guess. Yeah, it's very noisy, but I mean, like, it does work for their overall visual
Yes.
aesthetic.
It fits in with the flow.
yeah.
It's not a flow
But-
that we agree with.
Yeah, but there's lots of like jarring color palettes in this game. Lots of design clash, I guess, intentionally. Like, you'll see, like, a city, and there's, like,
Yeah, you can also put on a Star
fucking
Fox
angels.
costume in this game.
Yeah, yeah, some call to furries, I guess.
Yeah, I had a tail. It was lovely.
Yeah.
That sound,
Uncomfortable,
that sound
yeah.
that you made just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's a very Japanese look. That sort of over the top, crazy, like, everything's
Oh, the Japanese.
everything's cranked to 11. No, it's the West is very subdued, in their visual styles, I guess. There's that's not a knock on just the grays and brown of yestergen, but I don't know, like even shit, like, even their fantasy is just kind of our fantasy is much less hyperized I guess. We much like the bounds of realism, even though, you know, obviously if it's fantasy it can't be realistic, but that sort of believability.
See, I think this whole game meshes realism with fantasy elements.
I don't think it's realistic at all.
No, you can see it in some of the environments. You see some of the humans are realistically designed and all that sorts of stuff. So you have that meshing with all this
but the point
crazy ass fantasy, angels and demonic influences. Look at this environment.
Yeah,
Looks
but
sort
the
of
whole
realistic.
like they use realism, but it's not believable realism. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Is that they'll use this realism as sort of just like a total like cut, like just a distinction, a complete contrast of Bayonetta's design, and it makes it absurd. It makes it unbelievable, you know, and that, you know, that's what they're going for. But it's not my cup of tea, I can't say. And as for the gameplay, like I didn't actually play this, but it looks very similar to like Bayonetta 1, except, you know, you have a lot more items and trinkets and sort of.
At least the controls are fluid. I think controls are the surest.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
Cold French fries.
Yeah, cold French fries suck, eh? I can't remember what I was talking about, but I was talking about... Yeah, I haven't played this game, but I assume it's very much like Bayonetta 2, where it's very... you know, it looks like it has more gadgets and stuff in this game. But other than that, yeah, responsive controls, super important.
Yeah, I think controls...
Yeah, especially in a game like this, controls...
I said before, and I'll say it again, like, controls are the best, like, aging things about a game.
Yeah.
If your controls are perfect...
Yeah.
Then your game will age better.
We were talking about that in that awful Metal Gear Solid performance I had last episode.
Yeah. Where
we had to quit it out of my own shame.
Yes.
But
she sucks.
Yeah, that was awful. I don't know what was going on. Wow. Yeah, I really like the building effect here. Very DMC. If you played the DMC game, there's this one part.
Yeah, I tried the DMC game. The thing with the DMC game is, like, when you're in combat...
But it was very visually cool in some points, yeah.
Yeah, it was very visually cool, but when you're in combat, it almost, like, it locks you in place whenever you're in combat, so it's like,
Yeah, there's not much... It kind of makes you focus on one dude, sort of.
Yeah, it's almost like 3D combat with a 2D fighting system.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. These heads on these guys kind of crack me up.
Later on, I fight an angelic battleship, which is basically just all faces. it's amazing. You punch these faces.
It's just apart. A parody of itself, eh?
Yeah, it's insane the lengths that this game goes to.
Yep.
4 minutes.
4.
Oh, but yeah, I ended up liking this game overall. I still gave it a 6 because of its obvious, like, the weird artistic design decisions and all
without review buffering or whatever they call it. You know, review padding, I guess you would say.
I mean, like, what's the thing with that? I mean, like,
9. Well, when
this game sucks, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, where an 8 is actually a 2. And
here's the funny thing, like, game reviewers keep defending themselves. It's like, we love games and everything.
Yeah, we love games.
Then you look at Metacritic and they have an entirely different review scale for video games simply because of all that review padding.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's even though I would, you know, probably be with you rating this on a 6 or a 7. Granted, you know,
I give out 6s and 7s a lot. Yeah. I've noticed
that. Well, it's still good. Like 7's still good. 7 is still.
Yeah, but
I would say 5 is, you know, average. Yeah. So 5 is your average game. 5 is your.
Actually, I gave Ass Creed 3 2.5 out of 5, and a lot of people said you're wrong. And
you're objectively wrong.
No one is saying that game is any good today.
Yeah, I know, right? And now, you know.
Actually, I had a huge Twitter war with someone named Pixie Jenny, who's a notorious anti-GG personality. But basically, what I was saying is, like, if you strive for objectivity, you know, you're going to get a lot better game reviews. It's like, and I use the example of, hey, how many games that someone gave 10 out of 10 to 10 years ago would they still give the same score to now? Yeah. And just like, but you're asking reviewers to predict the future. No, just ask them to try.
Yeah.
It's like Halo Combat Evolved, easily still 10 out of 10. I would still play it. I would still give it 10 out of 10. Yeah. It's still amazing in many aspects. Super Mario Brothers, still 10 out of 10. Fire Emblem, still 10 out of 10.
Right.
There are a couple of PS1 games that got high scores, like some of the Crash Bandicoot games. Would you still give those the 10s out of 10s that they probably got?
Crash Bandicoot Warped, absolutely.
Oh, maybe that one, but the early ones I'm talking about.
2, no, 1 and 2 are kind of,
they were highly praised.
Yeah, of course, but you know, at the time they were amazing, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, I don't know if time is the best example here.
Who knows?
Because, you know, when games weren't even fully developed, you know, you had revolutionary, state-of-the-art polygons, and
I think that's another reason why we are. Oh, look at this. Yep.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah. Anyways, so like,
she's exposing herself for the male gaze.
When Crash, when Crash came out, it was like it was sort of 3D, I guess, but yeah, it was something completely different, and that sort of, when something's completely different, it feels like, it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah,
but
when I actually don't hear many mentions of Crash Bandicoot nowadays. It's a great.
No, I've heard when one of the PS4 commercials came out, there was some sort of sign that was it was a trash can, and then there was like a silhouette of Crash Bandicoot, and then something else, something like that. And everyone had seen it. It looked like a very literal sign saying we're pulling Crash Bandicoot out of the trash. But then Sony was like, no, that's actually not happening. But for a long time, there was a lot of vocal people being very hopeful about a new Crash game.
Well, I don't hear about those people anymore.
No, because they kind of got their hopes up, and Sony was just like, they kicked them back down.
Who knows? So, but
I don't know. I think the fandom is still there for Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon and Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie.
Obviously, Banjo-Kazooie's still there, even though despite the disaster of Nuts and Bolts.
What game? What's that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Apparently, they're going to be announcing a new Banjo-Kazooie game for 2015 at the E3.
What happened to Rare?
Seriously, all the people that used to work there now don't work there.
Well.
Actually, I heard that Retro Games has a lot of
rare people.
Rare people.
Well, here's the thing.
The Metroid Prime
here's the funny
guys
thing. The personnel at developing studios do matter, because you can look at the difference between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, and you can notice the key departures because of the Infinity Ward whole legal fiasco at Modern Warfare 2's release. You can look at the difference between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 and see a sharp decline in quality.
Actually, one of the things people don't realize is how transient the games industry is. Like, a lot of even everyone, game designers, animators, writers, modelers, artists, everybody, like, they trade hands all the time. Those big names will very, very often, once they're like, you don't need an animator through all of the gaming creation process. You don't need a game designer while they're making art assets. You don't need this and that. And those game designers will just, unless they're, like high ups and leads and stuff like that, a lot of times they'll stay. But a lot of the people under them who are actually doing the busy work will just, they'll go on to another project. And sometimes that project is very, very often in another studio. And there's a lot of moving around in the industry. So, I mean, that's probably why a lot of sequels don't.
Yeah, a lot of the arguments against games being art, and it looks like the video is over.
Yep.
But we can still fluff on for a couple seconds before we go. A lot of the statements against video games being art is like, it has no author. Well, the developing studio, the people out there do matter. Yeah. They do factor into a game's quality. It's like I said, Modern Warfare 2 versus Modern Warfare 3. You can see it.
Yeah.
The people matter. There. End of argument. I win.
And end of video.
No, we have to say goodbye first.
Oh,
you tard.
Happy
New Year's, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I don't care what you do. Spread us on Twitter. Do whatever.
Yeah.
This guy needs to earn money. Okay? He's poor.
No, I got it.
I'm poor.
Yeah. He's poor. Freudian slip there, I guess.
But it's been an honor playing through Bayonetta 2. It has won our Game of the Year for 2014. Brendan, say goodbye to the audience.
Get out of here.